This episode of Under the Apron is sponsored by Anchor. If you haven't heard yet, Anchor by Spotify is the easiest way to make a podcast with all the tools you need, all in one place. Just type in anchor.fm on your browser and start creating that podcast that you've been talking about starting all year long. Take advantage of Anchor's creation tools. You can record, edit, add music, or any type of audio you like right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast on many different listening platforms, such as Spotify, Apple, Google, or even Stitcher, and that's just to name a few. It's everything you need to make a podcast. And want to know what's the best part about it? Absolutely, totally free. Join us and download the Anchor app on your phone or go to anchor.fm on your browser to get started right away. Link will be in the show notes.
I'm here to get drunk.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I have about half a cup of vodka.
Drink.
Wait, are we live? Hi, I'm Jessica.
One professional skill that I would really like to learn is stripping.
I'm Sonia.
Because, I'm okay with not being artistic. I'm just that's cool.
And I'm Dawn Marie.
And we are Opinionated Lushes. I'll make a tomato vodka soup.
Ooh.
Also known as a Caesar.
Once a week, we get together to drink and talk shit. We start our episodes off with a question and a drink word. We usually never stay on topic or wait for the drink word to start drinking.
You're already breaking the game.
There's a new episode of Opinionated Lushes every Friday on all streaming platforms.
Just testing mattresses. Why isn't that a job?
It probably is.
An unedited episode Saturday on YouTube.
You just want to tell people you love them?
Yeah, sometimes you need it.
It just sounds dangerous.
Have a cocktail suggestion?
A topic of interest. A good drinking word?
Feel free to DM us on Instagram or email us at opinionatedlushes@gmail.com.
If I don't know you, I will.
So go ahead, grab a drink, any kind of drink, and get ready to laugh with us and share our drunken opinions.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
Episode 18, Origins Part 2. I spoke about how I mixed wrestling with my comic books. Too poor to buy the actual wrestling figures, but had enough toys to make my own Fed. I fantasy roleplayed that. I had a roster. I had champions. I had a small circle. I made my own Royal Rumble without ever knowing about a Royal Rumble. My first introduction to the Royal Rumble was in '93. I had just recently moved to Sacramento in September, and friends in 6th grade were telling me about this Royal Rumble. I guess I forgot to mention the part where I wasn't in the country from 1990 through the summer of 1992. My mom left to her home country, Nicaragua. She took me as well as my brother and sister. She claimed she needed a vacation. So we stayed at her mom's, my grandmother's place for a few months before she decided to go back to the States. I stayed put. I wanted to live the simple life, or so I thought. At 10 years old, I convinced this woman to let me stay there in that country for a year. After that, I can go back home. I didn't want to go back and live this life again. So I stayed. I stuck around. 1990. Yeah, 1 year, or so I thought. I ended up staying to the summer of 92. I missed a lot, apparently. And when I say I missed a lot, I mean I didn't have my wrestling to fall back on whenever I was feeling down and out. There was the occasional lucha libre on the 3 stations that the Spanish TV had. Oh yeah, the simple life. Sounds great on paper, but when a city-living kid lives it, he just wanted to go back home, man. So let's flash forward to when I do make it home. Summer of 92, June, I think. I don't know, I'm just guessing. Here's how I know I made it back home in 92. 3 Ninjas was being released in theaters, and I remember saying the catchphrases. We should run, we should hide. No, we should kick their butt. Neighbors laughed because I would always quote it. I love that movie. I was passionate about that movie. I haven't watched it yet, but I did watch it later on. The 10-minute Remember the Time by Michael Jackson music video was hitting the MTV airwaves. Did I forget to mention we finally got cable? I don't know what that meant at the time. I just know that my TV had more channels and I was watching movies. I remember the build for SummerSlam 92. Wembley Stadium. Bret the Hitman Hart versus his brother-in-law, British Bulldog, for the Intercontinental Championship. The brother-in-law storyline and Diana Hart in the middle. Bret's sister. That's what I come back to. I didn't watch it. I was told the result. I was also told Papa Shango did something to the Ultimate Warrior. New wrestlers. Something called Ric Flair. Woo? Remember that scene on Mean Girls in the lunch cafeteria when Katie comes back from Africa and has to assimilate? That was me. Just came back from Nicaragua. I ever hear the geeks talking about wrestling. My ears prick up. They take me in. They tell me everything from when I last stopped watching in 1990 to the summer of 92. Went back home. Next door neighbor that introduced me to wrestling had videotapes and said I needed to watch a few of them. WrestleManias and SummerSlam 91, to name a few. Moved from Los Angeles to Sacramento the fall of winter of 92, and that's when I started hearing about the Royal Rumble. We'll definitely come back to the year 1993 soon. Welcome back, Wrestling Geeks, to another awesome episode of
Hey, yo, Chico.
What?
You can't do episode 75 without me.
Who this?
You know exactly who this is. This is your co-host, Michael.
Oh, hey.
I'm back.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Yeah, I've been listening to the show, and I think I just don't think it's the same without me. And I think all the fans would agree. Would you agree, fans?
Holy shit! Oh, looks like we. Where'd you get those fans? Wait a minute, what's going on?
They came with me. I brought them with me.
Let's start over. I think we should start over.
Okay.
All right. Welcome back, podcasting geeks. You are listening to episode 75 from Under the Apron. Do the thing with the kids.
What's that, Mike?
Do the thing with the kids. Oh my. Yes! This is episode 75. We made it. I mean, at this point, I am just in shock to actually talk and ramble on for 75 or more episodes. I put some bonus episodes of me and other podcasts like the Masterpiece Shit Piece Theater with our friends from the Nerdvana Network and the Attitude Era Wrestling Review podcast with our friend Drew. And we are definitely dressed for the occasion. Michael, how the hell are you?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing pretty good. I'm glad you're here with us. How you been, man? How's law school going for you?
It's good. Finals are now.
Oh, okay.
This
is
yep.
wow.
I'll know my grades January.
Oh, January grade.
I'll think about it in a moment.
Law school, my friends. Law school. I guess I came prepared. Knowing that my tag team partner has my back, I decided to raid the fridge and pull out our dear friend, the Zoa. Oh.
I got one too. What kind did you get?
There it is. I got Wild Orange. And it's the Black Adam in the cover thing.
I got the Black Adam Super Berry for my super return.
Oh, yeah. Super return. I'm going to read the back now. My fellow everyday warriors, Zoa is about healthy, positive energy that helps us all focus, be productive, and get stronger together. Mana, gratitude, Zoa. Dwayne Johnson. Thank you, Dwayne. This marvelous occasion. And Michael's back. We have episode 75. And a friend of the podcast, Nick Opolewski. Say hi to Nick.
Hey, what's up, Nick?
He messaged me the other day and has asked us to review the 1991 Royal Rumble. What do you remember from it?
I remember that's the first Royal Rumble I remember seeing Hulk Hogan in the actual Battle Royal match.
Oh, okay.
Which was a shock to me because I always remember him being the main event. Well, I guess that was the main event, but I always remember him being main events and pay-per-views. So.
Right.
Singles matches.
Okay, I see. Okay, so before we begin, if you heard us review old pay-per-views or premium live events, as they are called, and you know we go by our rating system by now, during the show we will be stating additional facts that you may or may not have known already that we just happened to come across on the web over the years. At times, we will discuss what happened afterwards to either the feud or the wrestler throughout the year. After we discuss the Royal Rumble and its moments, we will rate it by the card, the roster, and is it rewatchable by giving it a unique rating system, such as how many videotapes out of 10 would we give it, and would we take it with us to school to have our friends watch it and have it passed around like, oh, I'm not finishing that sentence. We love our Encino people. Yeah. Cool. The show is Royal Rumble 1991. It aired on Saturday, January 19th, 1991 at the Miami Arena in Miami, Florida. The commentators for this event was Gorilla Monsoon and Rowdy Roddy Piper. Facts before we start the show. January 19th was on a Saturday, thus marking this the first of two pay-per-views by the WWE to ever be held on a Saturday. The other would be the 1994 Royal Rumble. Usually is the week before the NFL Super Bowl, and it usually lands right in the middle of the NFL Conference Final Championship and the Super Bowl, thus giving the players a week off to prepare for the big game. Well, the problem with that is that the Conference Finals was held the week before. In 1991, they didn't allow that weekend off. WWE didn't want that kind of competition. They didn't want the NFL smoke. So they held the event a week before the big game. The show opens up on the image of the American flag with the announcement of our national anthem. For some reason, they couldn't get anybody famous to come out and sing it. Yet they always are able to get someone at WrestleMania. Not this time. I mean, it's
about Rockin' Robin again.
Right? And oh God. It's not like they couldn't get Whitney Houston or wait.
Wasn't in the budget.
You already booked for the Super Bowl the following weekend.
Oh well.
Speaking of which, that's what this movie is about when it comes out. Around that time. The main feud heading into the Royal Rumble was between the WWF World Heavyweight Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, who had been champion since defeating Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6 on April 1st, 1990. More on that in episode 10 if you want to go back and listen. And Sergeant Slaughter, who had returned to the WWF in 1990 and became a villainous heel sympathizer of the Iraqi government. Their feud began building during a time when the United States was engaged in Operation Desert Shield, which became Operation Desert Storm on January 17th, 2 days before the Royal Rumble. During the build-up to their match, Slaughter and his manager, General Adnan, cut anti-American promos to build heat for the event. At one point, Slaughter unwrapped a present and revealed a pair of boots purposely sent to him by Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein. So let's start with the first match on the card. The Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Mario Jannetty versus the Orient Express, Kato and Tanaka. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was was a good match. It was a Rockers match, high flying, fast paced match. I don't know. Was there an angle here, or was it just they needed a match?
They needed a match. I don't remember. I mean, there wasn't any Raw or SmackDown at the time. We wouldn't know. Yeah. Unless you count Superstars, but it's like it was like a build up to that, I guess. Like you would hear it on the WWF news primetime. I don't know. What were they called?
Oh, they did have primetime back then. No, yeah, you're talking about the one that had Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon that came out Thursdays?
Maybe Thursdays. I think so.
Might have been primetime wrestling. Yeah.
I have to check Peacock and all the network stuff. See what time they were playing these.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It felt like out of the blue that these two would have a tag match.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a match. All right.
The match lasted 19 minutes and 15 seconds. I love the chemistry between these two teams, especially the sequence where Sato gets blind tagged by Tanaka. Irish whips Michaels, comes back, Sato lowers down, Tanaka jumps over Sato and Michaels, and then gets a double headbutt for their troubles. Early 90s tag teams are great. They're awesome because they wore the exact same wrestling gear. And you knew they were tag partners and were a cohesive unit. Nowadays, it's like, all right, I can see him wearing that and all that. That was just like, put these two together and that's it. During the match, Michaels and Jannetty whipped the Orient Express into each other. The Orient Express do and ended up clotheslining the Rockers. Tanaka and Sato do the same sequence. They whip the Rockers into each other. Jannetty ducks and Michaels leapfrogs into Sato and flying clothesline while Jannetty drop kicks Tanaka. Even Mr. Fuji gets involved and hits Michaels with his cane while the referee is distracted on the other side of the ring. Gotta love Fuji. Fuji's the best.
I liked him when he was with Demolition.
Demolition, yeah, and then he betrayed him.
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay. Double super kick on Sato. Jannetty was about to throw Michaels from the top rope onto Sato, but Tanaka pushed him off. Sato was setting up Jannetty for a move, but Michaels got in the ring time to distract Tanaka and hit Sato, who wheelbarrows Jannetty onto Tanaka into a leapfrog roll-up for the win. Such a great match between them two. In the January 28, 1991 issue of his Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer referred to the match between the Rockers and the Orient Express as the best WWE pay-per-view match since the WrestleMania 3 match between Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage. That is giving him too much credit.
Yeah. Well,
that match was underrated, but it's one of the best matches of WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
I of course, I've said this before. I only remember WrestleMania 3 because of Hogan versus Andre the Giant. But at the same time, like I was introduced to that because of them. But at the same time, Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage was one of the best matches on that pay-per-view. Meltzer also wrote that he considered it the best WWF pay-per-view to that point in time. A fan vote in the February 11th, 1991 issue of the Wrestling Observer newsletter had 268 out of 328 fans give the show a thumbs up. 41 gave a thumbs down, with a 19 gave a thumbs in the middle. This is 91, huh? It's like way before YouTube, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Likes and dislikes, my guy. The Rockers versus the Orient Express received the majority of the votes for the show's best match with 157. Guess who received the most votes for the worst match of the night with 98?
98.
Don't say it. But yes.
Well, how about the Mountie?
Okay. Coco Beware versus the Mountie received the most votes for the worst match of the night with 98 votes.
Yeah, I could see that.
We totally could see that. Probably the reason why I got taken off the the VHS version of the show. The Orient Express originally comprised of Pat Tanaka and Akio Sato. The former decided to take a position in the Titan front office, focusing on the WWF television rights sold to Japan TV networks following the 1990 Survivor Series. Following Survivor Series 1990, the C-Team house shows were no longer taking place, and many wrestlers left television following the event. The move left Pat Tanaka without a partner in the Orient Express. So the WWE decided to reunite the team So the WWF decided to reunite the team known as Bad Company, only this time with Paul Diamond wearing a mask to hide the fact that he was not Asian and using the name of Kato. Okay, that wouldn't fly today, would it? No.
Oh no.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, you have to be Oriental in order to. Yeah. Sorry, Paul Diamond. During this time, the team had a very well-received match with their old enemies, the Rockers, at the 1991 Royal Rumble, another acclaimed match against the New Foundation at the 92 Royal Rumble, which we will get to soon, which were the only pay-per-view appearance for the New Orient Express. Sato briefly rejoined the team in 91 to team with Tanaka and Kato for a series of 6-man tag team matches on WWF house shows, but left the WWE after only a handful of matches. Tanaka would leave the WWF in early 92. Diamond continued to wrestle as Kato until that October, primarily being used as an enhancement talent. In the fall of 92, Diamond got a brand new gimmick in Maximilian Moon, which is short for what exactly?
It's long for Max Moon.
Oh, it's a long term. Yeah, that's right. It's just
That's
Max Moon is
name.
for that. Max Moon is short for Maximilian Moon. Diamond wasn't originally intended to play Max Moon. The gimmick, then called Relampago or Thunder in English, was created for Conan, but Conan left the WWF after a backstage disagreement. Since Diamond fit the costume, he was chosen to take over the character. The suit was a very elaborate blue powder suit, bodysuit with markings that were supposed to look like the circuit board and white protruding rings around his arms, making him look rather outlandish. The elaborate outfit also came with 2 wrist devices that shot out fireworks and a jetpack that was supposed to make Max Moon look like a man of the future. Well, that man of the future got future endeavored. The fireworks shooting out of his wrist. Remember that one episode of Raw? I think it was the first episode of Raw where he does that and he hits a guy in the audience, or not a guy in the audience. That was get him sued. He hit one of the guy that was producers or
like a cameraman or something.
The cameraman, and it's like, oh shit. And then you see like that image, that footage, but you see one of the people in the audience looking at the dude in front of him, going like, "Help him!" So, like they wouldn't do that anymore. I think that was when Conan was part of it, and then it came to Paul Diamond.
Oh, okay.
The Rockers split up in December of 1991 after backstage disputes. The exact nature of the dispute has not been confirmed by the WWF, other than it was a monetary issue led to Jannetty quitting the WWF on behalf of both Rockers. According to Michael's book, Jannetty had claimed that World Championship Wrestling were willing to give them a very high guaranteed contract, but Michaels inquired about it. It turned out to be an exaggeration. No. Jannetty disputes this, saying that Michaels was the driving force suggesting to quit the WWF, but had Jannetty do the phone call to ask for a release from their contract. Vince McMahon actually agreed to let them go. Michaels appears shocked, according to him. We know about Michael's shocked expression, right? We've seen that before. Yeah, we've seen that before. Montreal. Anyway, Michael later went on to McMahon, unbeknownst to Marty, to explain this was Jannetty's idea only, and that he had no intention of leaving the WWF himself. So the final split came on Brutus Beefcake's barbershop. Everything happens at the barbershop. Taped on December 2nd, 1991, and aired on January 11th, 1992, where Beefcake interviewed the Rockers about their recent problems. After seemingly working their problems, Michael suddenly superkicked Jannetty before sending him through the glass window of the barbershop set. Michael also proceeded to rip a full-page picture of the group in half, signifying the separation. The turn had the desired effect of making Michael a hated heel, especially since the WWF agreed to let Jannetty Blade make himself bleed after being thrown through the window, something which is not very prevalent in 91. It also prevented Jannetty from entering the Royal Rumble in 1992. Yeah, imagine like tagging with him December 2nd, 1991, he betrays you, and then you still have to tag with him until January 11th. Oh, now we can stop being friends again? Cool. And then like everybody there that are saw is like, I know what happens.
Movie man.
They're not really friends anymore. I wonder if they had to sign an NDA.
I would think so back then or something.
You can't tell anybody about this. Like, why? It'll just ruin the storyline. All right, fine. After the match, we go backstage where Sean Mooney, love that guy, is interviewing Macho King Randy Savage and has appointed himself the #1 contender for whoever wins the WWE Championship title match later that night. Only problem is that Ultimate Warrior has still denied Macho King a chance, so Savage decides to do what Savage does and sends his side piece, Sensational Queen Sherri, to bait the Ultimate Warrior to give Macho King a title match. She sure is a master at that.
She didn't do too well that night, though.
Oh, she had one job. Mean Gene Okerlund is on his stage with Sensational Queen Sherri, who is there to ask for a public challenge to the Ultimate Warrior. She states that the Honorable Sergeant Slaughter, honorable? Wow, has stated should he win, he will do the honorable thing and grant Macho King a shot at the championship. Unlike the Ultimate Warrior, who is not honorable as Sergeant Slaughter. No, not at all. Sherry's about to talk a whole lot of mess about Warrior when his music plays and out walks the WWE champion with a USA jacket and wearing the USA colors face paint. Oh, okay. Queen Sherri gets in his face and asks for a title shot. Ultimate Warrior doesn't answer right away. So the Queen got to take one for the team and starts to flirt with Warrior. A confused Warrior doesn't understand what is going on, and Queen unzips his jacket from B. Queen unzips his jacket, comments on his back muscles, tells him she has always wondered what he would look like with his hair blowing in the wind. Wow. He remains silent.
A motorcycle, didn't he? She should have went on a motorcycle ride with him.
Sure. He remains silent this entire time, and Queen plants a kiss on his lips. Warrior is beside himself and just stares at Queen, confused again. He wipes the kiss from his lips, but just holds it enough in front of his face to smell it. Like, what? Who does that? She gets down on her knees right in front of him, and he just stares down at her like, "What are you doing? What's going on? Oh shit!" In front of these people. There's that one kid in the front row trying to look at this innocently. Hey, look, she's begging him, and the adults are like, "Yeah, sure, kid."
Yeah, there you go.
Two grown men beside him are just like, "Yeah, all right, kid, sure." With the hub music start playing in their heads. Oh wait, this is 1991. Play some Val Venus theme music.
Hello, ladies.
She gets on her knees and begs him while Warrior again smells his fingers twice. Why are you still smelling it, dude? That is weird. Okay. He smiles. Like this is the first time this man has ever been planted a kiss in his life or something.
You know, there were no women at Parts Unknown.
Oh, Parts Unknown. Perhaps he was trying to tell us something with the rocket ship.
Yeah, that's.
Like he wanted to go on a rocket ship, and then probably there takes a woman in there. And like I don't know. He spits on the ground in disgust, stares down Sherry, and growls, "No." A simple no would have been fine, dude. You didn't have to growl. I guess growling was such a thing back in the 90s or 80s.
Ultimate Warrior's a loud guy.
Yeah. Backstage, we see Macho King being savaged and unhinged. He throws a couple of chairs and runs to the ring and on stage to argue with Queen Sherry. She had one job.
Didn't do it very well, did she?
No, she didn't. Next match is the Big Boss Man versus the Barbarian. This match felt like a banger.
I think it was a good one. It was, like you said, I guess back then we weren't big on the storyline. So
No,
I'm sure I loved it back then, but looking now, it's kind of like, why? I guess you have to look at it through those 9-year-old eyes back in the 90s.
right. Both of them are hard hitters, especially Barbarian with his hard head.
Yeah.
Bossman is a legit tough wrestler as well. That's basically what this match was between both of them.
Yeah.
It only did 14 minutes, but it felt like a filler.
It did kind of, yeah.
They needed a match to fill in time, and here was Big Bossman and the Barbarian, who was taking orders from Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
And Barbarian put a hit out on Bossman due to him leaving the Heenan family. So yeah, that's probably it. They were cartoonish here, but keeping a story came to their own when they were in WCW.
Oh.
Like here, they were just like, all right, you're a barbarian, you dress the part. You're a big boss man, you're a cop, you dress the part. And then when they get to WCW, Barbarian's still the same guy. It's like, all right, you're a barbarian. It's like, all right, can I just wear black tights? Sure. Boss man, what do you want to do? Use my real name, Ray Trailer. Be the boss. Change my name to the man. Change my name again to the Guardian Angel. Change my name back to Ray Trailer. Change my name back to Big Bubba Rogers. Can I join the NWO? No. All right.
Oh.
I'm going back to WWE. They'll treat me like the big boss man that I am. Yeah, sure. Okay.
He got a promotion when he went back.
He's a SWAT team member.
Yeah.
And what did he do to Big Show's father? Oh, never mind.
Okay.
We'll get there.
And Al Snow's dog.
Oh, Pepper. Rest in peace, Pepper. Barbarian was mostly used as a jobber. Later in the 90s, he joined the S-Shrinkers when Samu left, and then would later rejoin Haku as his tag team partner in WWE as the Faces of Fear in the Dungeon of Doom stable. After the match, there was a promo with Chin Slaughter and General Adnan, but it was too slow. Oh, freaking hell. Again, nothing against Sergeant Slaughter. He's following me on Twitter, and we're talking about the heel version of the Sarge here. Different times.
I like him still. Even as a bad guy.
Even as a stooge.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
He's coming back. He's making a little comeback.
Yeah.
Pretty soon here on SmackDown. We'll see how that goes. I forgot what he was saying here, or didn't want to watch it due to how real life was going on at the time. So I just skipped it. Same with the Ultimate Warrior. He says something like, my subtitles couldn't catch it. Something about a rocket ship. So their match is up next. Due to Sergeant Slaughter taking too damn long with his promo, the match lasted about 12 minutes and 47 seconds. And usually they wait till the main event for the WWE Championship to take place, but they needed to do this now and get it over with. During the match itself, Warrior easily fought off a double team attack by Adnan and Slaughter, running Adnan off before shredding the Iraqi flag and stuffing it into Slaughter's mouth. As Warrior was attempting to finish off Slaughter, Sherry interfered by grabbing Warrior's leg. Warrior chased Sherry down the aisle before he was attacked by Savage near the platform area. Savage struck Warrior with a spotlight as Slaughter regained his senses and distracted the referee. After several minutes of Slaughter holding the advantage, Warrior rallied and set up Slaughter for the Gorilla Press Slam. However, Warrior grabbed Sherry, who had returned to ringside, and press slammed her onto Savage, who had also appeared at ringside. This gave Slaughter time to hit a knee strike to Warrior's back. Warrior fell into the ropes, where Savage shattered his royal scepter on Warrior's head while the referee was distracted. Highlight of the freaking year. Slaughter then hit the unconscious Warrior with an elbow drop and pinned him to win the match and championship. What did Warrior do? He got up right away and ran backstage to find Savage. Warrior didn't sell anything.
Warrior didn't have to sell anything, not even merchandise.
Just his comic book, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay. What did you think of the match?
Oh, the championship match? I thought it was pretty good. It was an Ultimate Warrior match, so it wasn't very technical, but
It didn't last long either.
I thought Sergeant Slaughter made it pretty good.
It was okay. It lasted a while, a little bit longer than how his match usually lasts, and that's due to Macho Man interfering, so he got in there as well.
Yeah.
His match against Rick Rude also lasts as long, only because
WrestleMania 5,
I think so.
where you lost the IC title.
And SummerSlam or Royal Rumble, one of those two. I'd have to go back. So Warrior ran backstage to find Savage. Meanwhile, Hogan was named the number one contender for Slaughter's WWF World Heavyweight Championship. During a promo that took place right after the Slaughter Warrior match, Gene Okerlund received word that Slaughter was defacing the American flag, to which Hogan vowed that Slaughter's reign as World Heavyweight Champion would be short-lived. This man's already telling us spoilers.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be short. I'm going to win it, and that's it. It's not going to work for me, brother. On the night of the Royal Rumble, Slaughter reportedly stayed inside the Miami Arena until 3 a.m. Sunday. More than 4 hours of the show had ended. The mood inside the building was such that there were fears that some angry whack job could be waiting for Slaughter out in the parking lot. At the time, yeah, there were freaking crazy people.
It's worse now.
Not that worse. I mean, when I was doing research for '92 Royal Rumble, like these two guys followed the Nasty Boys and stabbed Knobs on the chest.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, wow, you guys were like ruthless back then. What the hell's wrong with you guys? They didn't like the way Nasty Boys wrestled.
Oh.
So yeah, like somebody out there looking for Slaughter because he won the championship from Ultimate Warrior and he believes in this at the time. They needed to do that. Plus, they changed the venue for WrestleMania 7
from an open one to a closed.
Yeah, they didn't want anybody getting sniped. We know the Ultimate Warrior's fate this year. Again, we talked about it in the WrestleMania 7 episode. Warrior wins the career-ending match against Macho King. He proclaims to be number one main eventer and holds his SummerSlam position hostage. when he was supposed to tag with Hulk Hogan to go against Sergeant Slaughter, General Allen, and Colonel. I hate reading stuff like this. Colonel Mustafa. During the match, Warrior runs backstage and gets handed his papers. Sergeant Slaughter became a transitional champion. The worst of that, he faced Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 7. We all know how that went. Yeah. After losing to Hulk Hogan and Hogan alone at SummerSlam, he ditches the gimmick and starts to stand next to American landmarks, saying, "I want my country back." Maggot. During an episode of Superstars, Jim Duggan was under attack from the Nasty Boys, and Slaughter made the save. Duggan and Slaughter teamed up to defeat the Nasty Boys and continued to team over the next several months. Slaughter would also feud with General Allen and Colonel Mustafa, winning every match in his feud with the heel duo. So yeah, and I thought this was like before G.I. Joe the movie. No, this was G.I. Joe the movie. Before G.I. Joe the movie. Oh. I thought this was like after he did this. I thought he did G.I. Joe the movie. I didn't know G.I. Joe the movie was like in the 80s, and then he was.
Well, the cartoon was in the 80s.
Yeah, the cartoon was in the 80s, and then the movie was also in the 80s.
Oh, was it? Okay.
And then he does this, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I didn't realize that. So I became a fan of Slaughter now, and all right, it's like I didn't know about Slaughter back then.
Yeah, I didn't know about him in wrestling. I just knew about him on the cartoon.
Yeah. Looks like the Royal Rumble is next, and wait, my note says that there are 2 matches left.
Yeah.
What can possibly follow the championship besides the Royal Rumble?
Well, of course, your good friend Gold was there.
Oh, God.
Which I didn't know that at the time.
And the match that was deleted from the VHS.
Yeah.
The Mountie versus Coco Beware, the worst match of the night.
Yeah.
The match was basically a last-minute addition to the show and didn't even make the initial VHS release of the pay-per-view. There wasn't anything memorable about it. Anyhow, later versions of the event, such as the 2007 DVD release and the WWE Network version, restored it as part of the complete version of the show. It was another filler match.
Yeah.
They said the crowd needed to cool down, especially after Sergeant Slaughter winning the championship and the crowd not being too happy about it. The adult crowd wasn't too happy about it. I saw kids there like clapping when he won the championship.
Well, probably because of G.I. Joe then. Maybe they knew him from G.I. Joe.
Well, but still, it's like, didn't their parents like, all right, this man is a traitor. You do not clap for him. You do not cheer for him. He's a traitor to our country. But Dad, G.I. Joe, no. And G.I. Joe was probably in syndication and all that. So, like, but Dad, like, no, he's a traitor. Well, I'm still cheering for him. You saw a bunch of kids going into the guardrail and trying to shake his hand after he won the championship, which was like, damn kids, what they teach you, learn your history.
Oh.
Jacques Rougeau, the Mountie, just recently started competing as the Mountie, so he needed some extra TV time, and they gave it to him in the form of a pay-per-view appearance. He gained another major victory at WrestleMania 7, defeating Tito Santana after using the shock stick. The Mountie began a feud with the Big Boss Man after declaring he was the sole legitimate law enforcer in the WWF. And on August 26, 1991, he spent a night in prison after Bossman defeated him in a jailhouse match at SummerSlam. I gotta go watch that again. At the 1991 Survivor Series, Mountie teamed with Ric Flair, Ted DiBiase, and the Warlord to defeat Roddy Piper, Bret Hart, Virgil, and Davey Boy Smith in a 4-on-4 Survivor Series elimination match. It's the one where Bret Hart loses to Ted DiBiase and says, "Oh shit."
That was actually 1990.
1990 or 1991?
90.
90?
Yep.
Oh,
It was
okay.
when that was the $1 Million Team. It was DiBiase, Undertaker, and Rhythm and Blues
Oh, yeah, that's right. I just did that too. That's weird.
versus Brett,
Okay.
Anvil, Coco, and somebody else.
So you're telling me Ted
Snuka.
DiBiase and Bret Hart had a Survivor Series match against each other 1 year after the other?
I believe so. Yeah, I know for a fact that it was 1990 when they were. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Actually.
So Bret Hart has lost twice to Ted DiBiase's team.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, good to know. Next match was a throwaway match, I guess. Ted DiBiase and Virgil versus Dusty Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes. The match lasted about 10 minutes. Ted DiBiase and Virgil against Dusty Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes was most notable for Virgin's split from DiBiase. Tensions that had been building between the two in the previous weeks exploded when, after the match, Virgil struck DiBiase in the head with his $1 Million Championship to turn into a face. DiBiase had verbally abused Virgil throughout the match and at one point attacked him and threw him from the ring after he was being dominated by the Rhodes team. DiBiase went on to pin Dusty Rhodes with a roll-up. After the match, DiBiase demanded Virgil to bring the $1 Million Championship into the ring and strap it around his waist. Once he got in the ring, Virgil would drop the belt at DiBiase's feet, to which DiBiase ordered Virgil to pick it up. As DiBiase gloated and then turned back around, Virgil hit him in the face with the championship. One good thing Virgil has ever done. Dusty and Dustin Rhodes left the WWF after their match, both returning to WCW. Dusty retired from active wrestling, became a booker and commentator, and Dustin returned to wrestling as The Natural, baby, and started feuding with Larry Zbyszko and later Terry Taylor. 4 years later, Dustin would return to the WWF as the androgynous wrestler that you would never forget his name. Goldust.
You're listening to Mama Murdered a Podcast. I'm your host, AB. Mama Murdered a Podcast is a podcast where me, the mama, will be killing it on the podcast. We'll be taking a deep dive into things that are hard to talk about and even harder to believe that these things actually happen in the world that we live in. This entire podcast will be a trigger warning. I'll be talking about triggering topics while I dive headfirst into a lot of the cases that I'll be covering. New episodes will be released every week on Wednesdays because nobody likes Mondays and because Fridays are for day drinking and barbecues. Some of the case topics will be murder, of course, serial killers, like Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, missing persons cases, like 5-year-old Summer Wells, who vanished from her own yard in broad daylight in the middle of June in Tennessee in 2021. And especially the ones where it kind of seems like they just vanished into thin air, like Brian Schaefer. He walked into a bar, but he never walked out. He's still never been seen again. I'll also be covering cold cases and lesser-known cases. Join me every Wednesday to talk about all things tragic, murder, and things that happen in the downright ugliest sides of society. If you like what you hear and you want to support the podcast, you can rate me on Spotify. You can also leave a review and rating on Apple Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at murdered_mama. All of these things are free and they only take about a second to do, and it really does help grow the podcast. If you have any case suggestions, please send them my way. You can send them to the email address mamamurderedapodcast@gmail.com.
Movies and feelings. Pop, pop. Bring Your Own Popcorn is a podcast that dives into people and the movies who love them. Let us preach to your choir or stoke your ire as we spiral down memory lane with cult classics, Jurassics, and other genres that rhyme with traffic. What we lack in education, we make up for with comedy, compassion, and camaraderie. I'm your host, Mixtape Majesty, inviting you to join me and an assortment of wonderful guests on fine podcast apps everywhere. Bring your own popcorn.
Welcome back, podcasting geeks. Don't worry, the show's almost halfway over. Just sit back, relax, and light up a candle from Dark Fate Creations and just Wait, what? You don't have a Dark Fate Creations candle? What do you mean you don't? I've only mentioned it for about 20 episodes. Alright, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go to darkfatecreations.com. All one word. Fine, I'll have the link in the show notes. And you're gonna buy yourself a unique Cottonwick candle. Just go check it out for yourself. I'll wait. And while I'm waiting and you're clicking on the site and browsing, pick up the vibrant, colorful Marble Tops mouth freaking watering fragrances. It makes me want to do that rock sniff that he does all the time. They're fueled by lovely braided cotton wicks. They are paper threads woven into every cotton wick for a clean, romantic, slow, and consistent burn. Are you deciding? Each candle is unique from the next because they are hand mixed and hand poured in good old Grass Valley, California. They use only coconut and soy wax for a safer, cleaner, and almost 72 hours burn time. That's like 3 days worth of binge time on whatever podcast you're listening to or TV show you're watching. And not only do they care about the look, but also the quality and fragrance of the candles and the effects it has in your homes. So check them out. Buy a few this holiday season. Buy them for birthdays. Buy them for wedding gifts. Or just buy them for yourself. You deserve that. But let me know which one you picked up. Once again, that's darkfatecreations.com. Link will be in the show notes.
Speaking of which, it was actually Dusty Rhodes with Coco Beware and Bret Hart, and
Yeah, Dusty Rhodes. Okay, cool. Next, the Royal Rumble match, which lasted an hour and 5 minutes and 17 seconds. The Royal Rumble match is based on the classic Battle Royal, in which a number of wrestlers, traditionally 30, aim at eliminating their competitors by tossing them over the top rope with both feet touching the floor. The difference between the Royal Rumble and a standard Battle Royal is that in a standard Battle Royal, all participants start the match in the ring at the same time, where in a Royal Rumble match, participants enter at timed intervals. The winner of the match is the last wrestler remaining after all others have been eliminated. Since 1993, the prize for winning is a World Championship match at WrestleMania, with the exception of 2016, where the prize of the match was the championship itself, as the reigning championship defended the title in the match. According to Hornswoggle, remember him? Yeah, he's the guy that dwells from under the apron. Anyway, according to Hornswoggle, who worked for WWE from 2006 until 2016 and participated in 2 Rumbles, participants may learn their eliminations by knowing the 2 wrestlers who are eliminated before them and which wrestlers are entering the Royal Rumble before and after their elimination. So what we're going to do here is name off the wrestlers and appearance at the number they are drawn. Tell you how long they lasted and who they eliminated. If we were to tell you any other way, it would end up being a longer show. So with that in mind, number 1 and number 2 usually start out the match. All right, so number 1, before we start, who were you rooting for in this Royal Rumble? Bret Hart, of course. I was like, hey, Tito Santana, yeah, let's go. Yes, you know.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Number 1 was Bret Hart. Number 2 was Dino Bravo. They start off the match. Of course, 2 minutes go by. Number 3, Greg the Hammer Valentine, who immediately went after Dino Bravo and hammered into him. He eliminated Bravo at 3 minutes and 3 seconds into the match. So goodbye, Bravo. Number 4, Paul Roma, who teamed with the Hammer and pound Bret Hart until Roma turns out on the Hammer and starts pounding him. And also, this becomes a triple threat match for the next 2 minutes. And it's one of those times in the Royal Rumble, and like all the time, where you get 1, 2, or 3, or 1, 2, and 4, or whichever. and it's such a good match that you think it's an actual match.
Singles match, yeah.
That you want them to have a match that has a triple threat. There's one in the 1992 Royal Rumble, and we're going to go through that next time. But here is this one. Bret Hart, Greg Hammer, Valentine, and Paul Roma in a triple threat match. Number 5, your boy, the Texas Tornado.
Yeah.
Number 6, Rick Martel.
Yeah. Who I also like.
Yeah. I didn't know this man was swole. Like, he flexed. I'm like, I don't remember this guy being this big. What the hell? Like, I remember him back in the 92, 93 era, not in, like, 91. But then, like, I've seen, like, we've reviewed pay-per-views where he's teaming with Tito Santana. Like, I don't remember him that big either.
Yeah, even at Survivor Series 1990, you don't look that big.
I guess he flexed and is like somehow like, oh shit, he got muscles. Number 7, Saba Simba, who is really Tony Atlas. December 13, 2010, Tony appeared on Right After Wrestling and credited the Saba Simba character with saving his life as he was homeless and living on a park bench before getting a phone call from McMahon. He played a warrior of a Ugandan tribe and was intended to feud with Akeem, but the feud never took place after Akeem departed from the promotion. Atlas was kept at mid-card status, losing to Dino Bravo and the Barbarian. The gimmick has been described by one writer as unpopular at best and racist at worst. He only lasts 2 minutes and 27 seconds in the Rumble before being thrown out by the model Rick Martel. Going back to that with him being homeless and being saved by this character, which was in 91.
Yeah.
So there's an episode of Young Rock where Tony Atlas is blaming Rocky Johnson that he shouldn't have done the whole thing at Saudi Arabia because then their titles are gone now, their tag team titles. So we're basically blaming Rocky Johnson for this.
Fine.
It's fine. Had he not done that, he would still be fine, not on the bench. But you know, if they don't have anything for Rocky Johnson, then they shouldn't have anything for Tony Atlas. That's what they thought. But then again, at the time, Tony Atlas was huge also.
Yeah.
And they could have used them.
You should have tag teamed with Kamala.
Oh,
as Saba Simba.
As Saba Simba with Kamala, that would have been perfect too. Yeah. But you know, the guy from South Africa, Akeem, don't even go here. Okay. Number 8, Bushwhacker Butch. What was he about? Sheep herder? Is that what they called him?
Oh, were they? Huh.
I don't know what they were. They were from Australia.
Oh, no, they used to call them... I forgot. They did call them something else. Yeah.
What are bushwhackers?
I know it is a thing. I don't know if they were like soldiers or something. Where are they from? Australia or
Australia? Yeah. I have listeners from Australia. What's a bushwhacker? If you can tell me that, you know, let me know what a bushwhacker. I'll look it up too. But you know,
I think they were like soldiers.
Australian listeners, let me know what a bushwhacker is and what do they normally do. Number 9, Jake the Snake Roberts, who goes after Rick Martel. The model escaped from underneath the ropes, and so does Jake Roberts to go after him. They get back in the ring and continue to fight each other. Number 10, Hercules, who helps his partner Paul Roma and stomp on Cousin Butch. They're heels at this point.
Who, Power and Glory?
Yeah. Oh. Where the year before they were faces. And they were up against...
No. They weren't
the
1990.
Brainbusters. Yeah, they were faces. They were in a face team, in a 10-on-10 team.
So when was this?
I think it was a 1990 Survivor Series.
Not Survivor Series. They were with who were they with? They were with the Warlord and
the
Model. They were
Warlord.
bad guys.
Yeah, the Warlord was a face also.
Not at Survivor Series 1990, because remember they went against Jake the Snake and Hawk and Snuka and maybe the Rockers.
There was what episode did I just do?
They might have been faces in 1990, but not at the Survivor Series. Not Power and Glory.
They were faces. I'm telling you, they were faces.
Not at Survivor Series 1990.
And opposite of them was the Brainbusters.
Not Survivor. Maybe Survivor Series 1991.
Was it 1988?
Okay, that could have been, but not 1990 though.
Yeah, co-captains. There it is. So it was a 1988 Survivor Series where the Barbarian and the Warlord were faces. Okay. And that's the year that Mr. Fuji betrays Demolition and they turn faces. So it was a double turn. That also that episode is episode 72, co-captains at Survivor Series 1988 review. Okay. So it's around there where Power and Glory were faces, and then opposite of them is the Brainbusters.
Okay.
Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
Yeah.
Like this is right before they do the whole Four Horsemen thing.
Okay.
So like, this guy could be good for the Four Horsemen. All right, moving on. Number 11, Tito Santana. Hey, Olay. Paul Roma tries to crossbody block on Jake Roberts, but he moves out of the way, and Roma is eliminated. Roma lasted 14 minutes. Number 12, The Undertaker, coming out with Brother Love. Wow. That was the first time I'm seeing that besides the Survivor Series debut. He immediately throws out Bret Hart, who lasted 20 minutes and 33 seconds. Number 13, hides his girlfriend. It's Jimmy Snuka. He comes out to a loud pop.
Yeah, people liked him back then.
I don't think they know.
No, we didn't.
They didn't know at the time. Undertaker throws cousin Butch out. That's it. He's out. Number 14, the British Bulldog. Number 15, Smash from Demolition. At this time, Rick Martel pulls out Jake Roberts from the outside of the ring apron. Number 16, Hawk from Legion of Doom. Number 17.
Old Shane Douglas.
Oh, Shane Douglas. Never young Shane Douglas?
Yeah, I didn't even know who he was back then.
Hey, some new guy named Shane Douglas? He'll never last. Hopefully he doesn't ever come back. Oh, wait, Dean Douglas. This time, Undertaker pushes Texas Tornado out. At the same time, Hawk takes out Snuka. Number 18 was supposed to be Randy Savage, but he left the arena after he interfered in the championship match. He didn't want none of that smoke. Number 19, Animal from Legion of Doom. Both members of Legion of Doom eliminate Undertaker, and followed by Hercules and the Model eliminate Hawk. Like, here's the thing. Where the hell was Hawk?
Yeah.
So they eliminate Undertaker and the Model eliminate Hawk. They eliminate the Undertaker, and Animal just goes back to beating people up. Hawk is just standing there looking at his opponent, at what he just did, looking at Undertaker. And what is the one rule in Royal Rumble?
Yeah, don't look at what you just did. Pay attention to what you're doing.
Don't turn your back.
Yeah.
The Model eliminates Hawk. But at the same time, Animal could have been there, like, hung out.
Well, he didn't last much longer, right?
He didn't. Also, the pre-taped promos from them, from everybody saying that they were going to win the Royal Rumble, between Animal and Hawk, when one of them says to the other, I may also have to take you out.
Well, it's a
Like,
good thing you for that.
what? What the hell, dude? Why would you say that to your partner? Well,
That is the Royal Rumble.
it's the Royal Rumble, every man for himself. Yeah, but still, wouldn't you want to eliminate your partner at the last minute when it's the final four?
Well, I mean, that's what he was saying. Maybe if it came down to one-on-one.
There, one-on-one, yeah. Number 20, Crush from Demolition. Number 21, Ho! Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Number 22, Earthquake, who stands face-to-face with Animal, and they go at it. Animal rushes Earthquake. I'm a man, don't call me Shark. He ducks and throws Animal out of the ring. Number 23, Mr. Perfect, who ducks from Jim Duggan rushing at him and throws him out. Number 24, Brother Hulk Hogan. Oh, goodness. Runs to the ring, gets pummeled by Smash, and throws him out right away. Hogan doesn't stop there. He goes after Earthquake because they're still feuding. Number 25, Haku flies in the ring at the same time as Hogan just threw Greg the Hammer Valentine out of the ring. Number 26, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. At this time, Earthquake throws Tito Santana out, and there goes my guy.
We both lost.
We both lost. Number 27, Bushwhacker Luke, who came in, and 4 seconds later, he's out, courtesy of Earthquake. A record at that time. I wonder who will beat that record.
We know who beat the
We know who beats the record. Shortest time in Royal Rumble history. Number 20.
Got rid of him too, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was Kane.
Yeah.
Which Kane? Mask Kane or Unhinged Kane?
Oh, it was after the mask. It had to have been around 2008, maybe.
May 19th Kane? Probably.
Yeah, because he was already bald too. I think he didn't even have the hair anymore. So.
Don't say that date. Number 28. Oh, yeah. Number 28, Brian Knobbs. The Nasty Boys arrived in WWE in December of 1990 after several acclaimed performances in WCW working against the Steiner brothers. The two were not initially scheduled to be part of the Royal Rumble, but Brian Knobbs wound up in the match, coming in third place overall. Jerry Sags, meanwhile, worked a dark match against Sam Houston. Knobbs' participation in the Royal Rumble was actually as a fill-in, taking the place of the Honky Tonk Man. Honky quit the company shortly after Christmas 1990, by which time he was mostly working as a color commentator on WWE Superstars. Honky's pre-taped performances continued to air up until Royal Rumble Saturday, with Knobbs taking a spot that night on the pay-per-view telecast. I quit, but at the same time, I get to still work here.
I didn't know that.
Knobbs takes out Hercules, who lasted 37 minutes. Number 29, Warlord. At the same time, Hulk Hogan takes out Crush, who just tosses him over. Hulk Hogan gets double teamed by Mr. Perfect and Warlord, but Hogan clotheslines Warlord out of the ring. Number 30, Tugboat, who goes after Earthquake. Give us some time. These two are about to be a tag team. What are they called?
Natural Disasters.
Yeah.
Yeah, Typhoon and Earthquake.
Typhoon and Earthquake. Brian Knobbs eliminates Shane Douglas at that time. Tugboat gets eliminated by Hulk Hogan because how do you say thank you to someone who pushed you to come back? Then by taking him out of the Royal Rumble. Thank you for bringing me back. Goodbye.
You get the man who has everything. I guess you get him eliminated.
And that's why Tugboat turned into Typhoon and turned on Hulk Hogan. I hope that was a storyline too. The British Bulldog eliminates Mr. Perfect. The Model eliminates Jim Neidhart. British Bulldog eliminates Haku, and right after eliminates the Model Rick Martel. Brian Knobbs and Earthquake both eliminate British Bulldog. And finally, Hulk Hogan eliminates both Knobbs and Earthquake to win the Royal Rumble. Hulk Hogan is your winner.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
Alright, Royal Rumble by the numbers. Hulk Hogan eliminated 7 people. The most in this match, with Rick Martel and Earthquake both tied at 4. Obviously, the shortest time is with cousin Butch, or was it Luke?
Luke,
one of them, at 4 seconds. The longest time in this Royal Rumble belonged to the Iron Man, the Model Rick Martel, who lasted 52 minutes and 17 seconds, a record at this time in 1991. The second longest belonged to Greg the Hammer Valentine, who, according to Dave Meltzer in his write-up of the show, Valentine was actually being punished by having to work for such a long period of time. Valentine, with no former WWE contract in place, had taken dates in late 1990 with Irv Abrams' UWF promotion that January, and Vince McMahon was reportedly none too pleased with Valentine's decision to work those shows. Valentine would later note in a shoot that he jumped back to WWE after working those January UWF cards, and Abrams canceled his checks as retaliation. McMahon, petty. Sure, why not? He does this. He does that all the time. Still there?
Yeah.
Hercules would last 37 minutes and 36 seconds. And finally, the fourth Iron Man to last as long. He would eventually last longer at the 1995 Royal Rumble, the British Bulldog at 36 minutes. The 1991 Royal Rumble pulled in a staggering 440,000 buys, with the Saturday night placement having no negative effect on the show at all. In fact, the 91 show would mark one of the 3 Rumbles, 97 and 2003 being the others, that did a great buy rate than the WrestleMania that followed.
Oh, wow.
The Slaughter Hogan angle would manage just 400,000 buys come Mania Sunday, nearly aced out by the 30-man brawl that preceded it. All right, there you have it, the 1991 Royal Rumble. What did you think of the show?
It was okay. It was all right. Overall, I don't want to say it's forgettable, but kind of forgettable because I kind of forgot. But it was all right.
It was. The only good match on there was the first one. The tag team match, and then obviously the Royal Rumble match.
Yeah.
The highlight of the highlight reel whenever they show anything that it has to do with what's his face, Randy Savage and Ultimate Warrior, is him getting hit with a scepter.
Yeah, they do show that a lot.
So yeah. How many videotapes out of 10 would you give it?
I give it about 6.
Yeah, 6.
Better than average, but
it
is
there. It's not the best Royal Rumble, but it's there. It's like, all right. I see I can skip to some of these matches and just watch the Royal Rumble and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Would you take it to school the next day to be distributed among everybody of your peers?
Nah, probably. I wouldn't put my reputation on this one.
Oh wow, your reputation, huh? Like you have to have that reputation. Hey, ask this guy. He'll record it and he'll let you borrow it.
Well, because then the next time you tell somebody, "Hey, I got another one," and they say, "No, I saw the last one you gave me." No.
Did that happen before?
I mean, I've told people about wrestling, and then they would look for matches on their own. I guess they would find the wrong ones. And then say, no, that's okay. I'm not going to watch that anymore.
Oh, damn. Okay.
I don't think this would be a good one to get somebody who's not into wrestling, I guess.
Right. Yeah, no, not this one. Definitely not this one. It'd be the next one after that, the 1992 one, which we will do later.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's the one where I'm just like, oh, shit, this is awesome. Favorite moment of the pay-per-view?
Probably when Macho Man hits Warrior with the scepter.
Scepter. The highlight.
Just because I've seen it 1,000 times on all the
Right? Like
compilation
rewind it, go back. Oh man, why is he not bleeding?
tapes. Yeah,
Like been
because that
blood
thing
in that match.
exploded.
Yeah, that should have been blood in that match. That thing was a freaking.
I mean, even if it was plastic, that as hard as he hit him with it.
And then Warrior doesn't sell it at all. He's just like,
No,
all right, I'm back up. I'm going to go look for this guy, but I'm stumbling across the freaking aisle. Like, so it did work, and then at the same time, it's like, oh, okay. Least favorite moment. What didn't you like?
Probably the match, the Coco Beware match.
That nobody remembers.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you one thing that happened except Mountie talked for a few minutes in the beginning.
Right. Yeah. So we're not gonna send it to school. We're gonna give it 6 out of 10. Yeah, that's 91 Royal Rumble for you guys. Well, there you have it, Nick Opalewski. Hope you enjoyed this review, and thank you for sending us a review of your own. We hope to hear from other people as well as our good friend Nick Opalewski. Say thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
That's going to do it for us tonight. Before we go, I wanted to shout out 2 podcasts. One is the Light Camera Rant podcast. They stream every Tuesday morning, and they talk about the latest in movies, TV shows, and video games. Check out their link tree at linktree.com/light.camera.rant. Link will be in the show notes. The other podcast is the Opinionated Luscious podcast. You heard their trailer at the start of the show. They are hosting a Christmas fundraiser 16-hour live stream event this Saturday, December 17th, from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. the next day. Other podcasts, if you're listening to this and want to promote your podcast or any soundbite you would like to add, is a $10 donation. Feel free to DM them on Twitter at opinion_luscious for more information about the charities and how you too can get involved. Or email them at opinionatedluscious@gmail.com. I will have the information on this event in the show notes. Thank you for listening to the show and supporting us. You can find us on all their sort of social platforms at our Linktree, linktree.com/from Under the Apron. It has the link to our network, our Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and all our socials. Those are Good Pods, Spotify, and iTunes accounts, where you can listen to us as well as leave us a comment or a 5-star review, which helps us be discovered by other fans of wrestling and podcasts. Thank you once again for ranking us and pushing us to number 4 on the top 100 in wrestling podcasts. We're number 4, dude.
Wow. Wow.
Hey, it's been a while. I also have a Discord account. If you want to add me there, do so at $1,000,000Geek0945. Invite me to your channels. Check out the show notes for links to other podcast trailers that you heard on this episode. Send us a message of your favorite wrestling stories, questions, comments, ratings, or requests by email. It is undertheapron@gmail.com, and I will do my best to get to them and answer accordingly. Also, click on the link tree if you want to support our podcast in whatever way you can. Thank you for listening and being a huge part of our community. Join us next time and find out what kind of stories are swept as we come to you from Under the Apron. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Who's it gonna be? Who's gonna be number 30? It's Michael! Goodbye, everyone.
Yep. Have a good one, everybody.
See y'all later.